Hello people, welcome back to the channel. It is LFC Plavi here, and it is Liverpool 4, Barnsley 1. FA Cup third round. Now Liverpool are through to the next stage of the competition, facing Brighton at home again at Anfield. And let me start my match reaction by saying that the lineup that we saw against Barnsley wasn't something that I was expecting. I think Arne Slot surprised me by going a bit strong in that first half of the game. We had Van Dijk starting at the back, Robertson starting. We had also Jeremy Frimpong at right back. And the only change that you would say is a player who is not a first team starter would be Gomez. And I think Gomez had a pretty shaky start. In terms of his passing, he was dwelling on the ball a bit too long and giving some faulty passes. It led to few opportunities for Barnsley, but nothing that really threatened us. In terms of the midfield, he went with Curtis Jones and Alexis McAllister, and then he played Dominic Szoboszlai as well in the midfield. So that is a lineup that you say is a fairly strong one. These are players who would probably start in most of the games this season. No matter who the opposition is, you would trust such a midfield to start. The only first team nailed on person who wasn't there was Gravenberch. So that was understandable. Against Barnsley, you'd expect that with this midfield, we should be fine. Up front, he played with Federico Chiesa on the right, on the left-hand side, Rio Moha, and then up top, Cody Gakpo. So that is where you would say that the biggest change in the team came from, because we had two players who are not necessarily first team starters in that front three. So in the first half, I think what I did see was that our build-up was okay until we got to the final third. That is where we struggled to break them down because we were still taking too many touches. It was very slow up front. The players, there wasn't that telepathy between the players for you to be able to see 1-2 passes, quick interchange of play. Nothing like that happened. So in that first half, we kind of struggled a bit. The other thing that we struggled with was the pressing. We weren't able to press them very well. So whenever we lost the ball, it was a transition moment for Barnsley. They were able to get out of their half, play in a final third, but then the cutting edge also wasn't really good from Barnsley's point of view. And the first goal was something that it wasn't something that you say you were expecting. It wasn't coming based on how we were playing. It was just a moment of magic, brilliance from Dominic Szoboszlai, shooting about 35 yards away from the goal. And sometimes when teams sit deep and try to defend in a low block like this, that is the best way to break them down. You need to be shooting from long range, and that is what Dominic Szoboszlai did. And he went in. Quite surprised he wasn't celebrating that goal. I'm actually not sure why he didn't really celebrate the goal, because that was an absolutely fantastic strike. And the keeper had no chance whatsoever saving that ball. In the first half, one aspect of our attack that I also didn't like was Jeremy Frimpong getting to the byline or getting close to the byline and crossing the ball. And I think it was quite disappointing. Even before we got the first goal, also after we got the second goal, the crosses weren't right. The final ball from Jeremy Frimpong wasn't very good, because most of the crosses that he put in went straight to Barnsley players. They were able to clear it out very, very easily. And I think that is something that he needs to work on, Jeremy Frimpong, because I don't think when he was at Bayer Leverkusen, that was how he was playing in terms of his final balls. I think he had a better final ball than this. And I've seen it in some of our games that he's already played recently. And you can see that he does the good thing in terms of going past his marker, but then when he delivers the ball, it is always a bit too far behind the Liverpool players or too far ahead of the Liverpool players, and it's very easy for defenders to deal with it. So the only time that he decided he was going to take the shot himself was when he scored Liverpool's second goal. And that was a brilliant goal as well. He had a 1v1. He kind of faked to go to the byline. The defender took the bait and then he cut inside, shoot with his left foot. And that was absolutely fantastic. And I think he should do that a bit more, because against Arsenal, I think he had an opportunity to shoot the ball on his own, but he decided to pass the ball to Florian Wirtz, and it ended up deflecting and missing the target. So I think it is something that he should be encouraged to do more, because when he decides to take the shot himself, I think it comes as a surprise to some of the goalkeepers, because they expect him to cross the ball once he gets the space. So if he takes the shot himself, then he's more likely to get the goal. Against Arsenal, he had a similar chance, and I think it was a bit too far on the corner on the right-hand side of the first post. And in situations like that, I usually remind myself about Luis Suarez and what Luis Suarez would have done. He would have shot the ball to the roof of the net, and usually keepers are not able to deal with that. So that was what I was expecting, and I think in his goal against Barnsley, that is what he did. He shot the ball to the roof of the net, and usually keepers are not able to deal with that, especially from that close of a range. So I think Jeremy Frimpong can improve on his final ball. He can also take the shot himself on some occasions instead of trying to always pass the ball. Now, Barnsley's goal came right at the death of the first half, and that was from a moment of madness from Dominic Szoboszlai. He was able to run behind or run back to recover a through ball that was played to a Barnsley player. So once he recovered the ball, he was running across his own goal. But I actually thought he was going to pass to the goalkeeper before he got into Liverpool's penalty box. And I think that is what he would have done. That he should have done, because it would have been the simplest thing to do, to try and get the ball to the goalkeeper so that the goalkeeper hits it long, and then we kind of resettle. But he didn't do that. He tried to run with the ball. So I was of the impression that he was going to run across the goal and try to hit the ball long himself so that we can get set again. But he didn't. He decided to go past the goalkeeper and give a back heel pass to the goalkeeper, just to I don't know, maybe take a mick out of Barnsley because we were 2-0 up. It was a bit too easy, but it didn't feel that easy of a game for me when I was watching. But maybe the players felt differently, and that is why Dominic Szoboszlai tried to do that back flick in such a dangerous position. It was a totally unexplainable situation, because you wouldn't expect a player to do that at that point in time, knowing that there was a Barnsley player behind him. And I think it is something that happens. Sometimes there are brain fogs that happen on the pitch. People do things that you don't really know exactly how to explain. So that happens. But in the second half, Liverpool came back trying to pin Barnsley back. But it was quite difficult because Barnsley were able to get out on so many occasions. Like I said earlier on, the press wasn't very good. So Liverpool were struggling a bit when it comes to defending the counter-attacks from Barnsley. So the left-hand side winger for Barnsley, he had a very, very good game. He was their main outlet when it came to breaking on Liverpool. And that guy was so good. He was able to take people on 1v1, was able to run with the ball to the byline, put dangerous crosses into Liverpool's penalty area. And that he was such a menace throughout the entire game of football. We didn't really have full control or total control of the game until we brought on Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, and Gravenberch. And I think that Gravenberch change was very important. It was very, very important because it gave us that stability. We were able to defend the counter-attacks a bit better. We were able to pin them back in their own half. Whenever we lost the ball, they didn't really get the opportunity to go on the counter-attack as much as they were doing before that change. So it took the first team players, it took bringing on our talismans to be able to get this win over the line. And for me, I think credit goes to Barnsley for putting up such a good performance at Anfield, because this is a team that is 17th in the League One. And so I wasn't expecting such a good performance. But at the same time, the history between Liverpool and Barnsley doesn't really show that they are a team that we tend to batter. They give us always a good run for our money. And that is what they did in this particular game. Aside giving the credit to Barnsley, I think the players who came in, those who are not necessarily first team starters, like Federico Chiesa, I don't think he was that good in this particular game. And some people would argue that is why the manager doesn't play him or give him as much opportunities. That is true to some extent, but also when you try and analyze the whole situation, you would find out that the fact that he hasn't been playing a lot means that he lacks rhythm. He lacks the sharpness that you need to be able to put up your best performance, because players need to be playing on a regular basis in match situations to be able to get some rhythm going. So I would argue that he lacks that rhythm, and that is why sometimes his runs are a bit weird. His positioning wasn't very good at times, and his touches a bit too heavy. So that is why we didn't see the best of him. And that also affected our press a little bit, because the press wasn't quite coordinated the way that you would want it to be. And even the way that it was after we made the change with Hugo Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, and Gravenberch coming into the team. So that is why I think we struggled a bit, in addition to the fact that Barnsley did play very, very well in this particular game. That last two goals Liverpool scored to take the game away from Barnsley came from quick interchange of passes, slow build up, and then in the final third, we made it quite quick. We surprised them with the speed that we put into that passage of play, with Curtis Jones passing the ball straight into the feet of Hugo Ekitike, who flicked the ball through the legs of the Barnsley defender, and Florian Wirtz was on the same wavelength as Hugo Ekitike to run onto that ball, switch it onto his right foot, and curl it into the far corner. So that was a very good goal. But even before that, Florian Wirtz had an opportunity to put Liverpool 3-1 ahead, and he decided to go with the outside of his right foot instead of maybe trying to put the ball into the net with his left foot, because the cross was coming from the right hand side onto his left foot, and he could have easily tried to play that ball or tap the ball in with his left foot. But he decided to go with the outside of his right foot, a decision that is quite hard to understand why he did that. But again, he was able to get a goal, so you would forgive him for that. Sometimes players want to try things and do things that are unexpected, so you kind of understand. But he put that ball over the bar before he got his goal from an assist from Hugo Ekitike. And Hugo Ekitike himself was also in the right position to tap in a cross from Florian Wirtz after Dominic Szoboszlai put a long ball behind the last line of Barnsley. Florian Wirtz ran onto the ball on the right-hand side, so we were in behind the defense of Barnsley. Hugo Ekitike was the man in the box, ready to tap in, and Florian Wirtz made no mistake, crossing the ball on the ground onto the feet of Hugo Ekitike, who tapped it home. So that was the story of the game. I think it was a good game. The fact that we needed all our big boys to be able to win the game is quite disappointing to some extent. But again, The Barnsley team also did well, so they made the game much more difficult than we thought it would be. But going forward, I think we can take the positives out of this game. There are a lot of positives to take, and so we'll do that for our game against Burnley at home on Saturday, and hopefully we'll be able to put up a much better performance against Burnley. So thank you very much for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new here. Also, smash the like button, hype the video. Let me know your comments down below. Thank you very much. You never walk alone. See ya.